Hi, and welcome to Reflections of You, where we create cards to spread joy to others. And today, we're creating a thank you card for any Christmas gifts that we receive from family and friends. I think it's so important to send a thank you, so let's get started. To start with, our card is going to be elevated because we're going to use brushed paper. And out of the Cricut packet, I used several colors, but my top layer for embossing will be this silver. This silver is very sturdy, does a great job with embossing. The back layer will be the red brushed paper from Michaels, the Recollection. It does not emboss well. However, it is a sturdy paper for die cutting, and you can see that I die cutted a gift card holder here for a card. So these supplies work great. We're going to cut down our silver brushed paper in half and then just use our trimmer. At first, when I create this card, I want to cut this down to the full size of an A2 card base, which is 5.5 by 4.25. And so, starting out, the brushed silver will be 5.5 by 4.25, and the brushed red will also be 5.5 by 4.25, but we'll be cutting down the brushed silver. But we want to emboss the brushed silver first before we cut it down, and we are going to emboss it using this embossing folder so that it'll show up so you can see. I love these vintage ornaments from this Cuttlebug embossing folder, and I hope that you can kind of see that. You'll see it better as we go along. I will be getting out my Cuttlebug embossing machine. I know this is an old machine that many people don't have anymore, but I find it's great for embossing. I don't use it for die cutting, but it's just perfect for embossing. And I'll use it till it breaks. But we will get out the plates. One of the tips I have for you is to store your plates in like a little bag like I have here. This way I know what plates go with which machine, and I can just easily pull out what I need. So again, I only use this for embossing. It doesn't always stick down to my surface as well, as you can see here, but I think the impression comes out great for the ornaments. It's a little shiny for the camera, but it gives it an elevated look, and the paper is just so strong for this type of technique. I also like to just go ahead and clean up and put the embossing folder away with the plates, and then we can move on to the next step. Using Sizzix Thinlits, I have cut out several ornaments out of the brushed paper, and I've assembled them ahead of time, cutting them out using my Gemini die cutting machine, and I made a sentiment with crimson red Alta Nu that says thank you so much for the card. Now let's start assembling our card. We have all our pieces, and we are going to need to make an ornament hanger. I'm going to use twine. At first I was going to use the dark green, that's traditional Christmas color, but I decided on the lighter green because it goes and blends in well with the color of the ornament that I am popping out of these ornaments on the card. We also want to make sure that we use score tape to adhere down our ornament tie. This will make sure that it stays put on the brushed metal cardstock. And when we put this ornament hanger or twine down, we want to make sure that we pull it tight and it stays within the groove, and the ornament covers it up so you don't have to remove the paper. So we'll pull this over tight on top, And we will also put score tape 2 times on the back to make sure we have a good adhesion to the card and that ornament hanger or twine will not move. So I think that looks good, and now we can put our ornament down. Again, we'll also use score tape for this process because when you have such a shiny metal type of material that you're working with, it just is so much better to have that tougher tape that really adheres things down instead of glue. We'll just put a little bit of this tape in the middle of our sentiment. I end up not liking where this is, and I am able to pull it up and move it. And I'm just moving it over ever so slightly. But again, I'm going to use score tape to make sure that this card adheres well to the brushed red that is going to be our background. Another thing is you could pre-cut all of your score tape ahead of time, and that would make assembling the card a little quicker. But I also like to make sure I press this down well so it doesn't come off. That's another tip for you. And then once we can get it started, then we can be able to get ready to line this up. Now we're going to line this up and put this in the middle of our cardstock. And we will adjust the sentiment a little bit. And then we are going to adhere this to the back of our card. But this time we have our card base. I am going to actually use Gina Connect glue on this to the paper card base. 1, it will hold. 2, it will be easier to adjust it to the front of our card so we get it lined up and it has a little bit of wiggle room. I hope you find this helpful and you send thank you cards to your family and friends. Give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.